call the meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Here.
Mrs. Cotterman.
Here.
Miss Amy Walker.
Here.
Mr. Wigton.
Here.
Mr. Mosher is absent.
Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, roll call.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4. I need a motion for the approval of the previous board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Wigton.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4. At this time, the board will recognize any visitors who would like to discuss anything on the agenda. Okay. Moving on to the administrative committee reports. Legislative.
No report.
Athletic Board of Controls has not met. Student representative.
Good evening. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Elise. I am this year's Student Council President. So to start out, I actually have a lot of stuff to announce. But for sports, boys soccer is 9-1, and they play Worcester on Tuesday, and hoping to look for their next win. The girls tennis has been doing really good this season, and they have been winning a lot of matches as a team, and they won the Madison invite, which is always amazing. And they have OCCs coming up next Friday. The football won their first game of the season. It was a great game to watch. They won against Worcester 35-24, and they play West Holmes this Friday at West Holmes. The girls soccer beat Ontario last night with a 2-1 score and play West Holmes tomorrow. Lily DeLong, who is a junior on the team, is also up for Athlete of the Week this week. Cross country has been having tons of students beat their personal best times every meet and have been going really good as a team. Their next meet is on Saturday at Van Buren, hoping to beat some more times. Volleyball has been working hard this season, and even though they haven't been having the best scores as they would like, they have been bonding as a whole, and they are looking for their next win. Student Council is concentrating on getting ready for homecoming next Saturday. We have been cutting out trillions of stars for the Galaxy theme, and we're hoping that that will be a good time. The National Honor Society had their blood drive today, and it went really well. We had a lot of people donate blood throughout the school. The high school will have their annual homecoming assembly next Friday, where we will find out this year's homecoming king. And then later that evening during the football game, at halftime, we will find out this year's queen, which is a little inspo. I am on court this year. And then the 100 Years of Madison game went really well, and it was a great time and it was nice seeing all of our alumni. The Career Tech kickoff will be happening this Friday, where all of the Career Techs will come together, both juniors and seniors of every Career Tech, and they'll be competing in challenges against the other Career Techs, so that will be a fun time. And then the first academic early release is this Friday, and hopefully a lot of kids should be able to leave during that. Several Madison students performed at the Playhouse and Renaissance performances last weekend, which went really well. And finally, the fall sports and band member seniors walked and got recognized last Friday before the football game. Thank you.
Thank you. Facilities? Okay. Board policy?
No report.
Okay. For student achievement, Eastview is busy finishing up beginning of year assessments, and they're excited to announce that they improved to 4 stars on the state report card. At Madison South, they're giving the Reading iReady diagnostic this week. Students have been working hard in boot camp to sharpen their skills after returning from summer break. They're looking forward to these results so each student can get started on their individualized plan for learning. At Mifflin, students are wrapping up diagnostic assessments to assist in forming skill-based groups for daily instruction, intervention, and enrichment. Students recently gave speeches and had an election for student council officers and representatives, with Mifflin having its first female president in student council history. At the middle school, all grade levels are able to go on a field trip this school year. This will be the first field trip at the middle school in over 10 years. Fifth graders attended the Great Mohican Powwow last week to learn about Native American cultures. They received a lot of wonderful compliments about how well behaved our students were. This school year, they did a fifth grade orientation at the start of the school year. They met with parents and students to go over expectations for this year, show how the building runs, and give them important information that would be new to them coming to the middle school. Parents loved that they could ask questions and get to tour the building without all of the other grade levels being there. They have built in an MTSS time this school year about the beginning of the day to help give some of our struggling learners more individualized attention. Teachers are tracking student growth with data points and keeping close connection with our students' parents. The newly formed PTO in the building completed their first fundraiser this year and are going to be able to help with several student incentives for things like good attendance and student achievement, as well as help with field trips, student programs, and extra supports needed at the middle school. At the high school, the Key Club had their first meeting of the year. They discussed service opportunities to help out the community. Participation and membership has increased, and they're looking forward to a great year. Wednesday, September 18th, NHS held its first Red Cross blood drive. A special thanks goes out to Mrs. Burden for organizing the event. And auditions have recently wrapped up for Annie Jr., which will be the high school musical for the year. Career Tech has started student work release, and there are 23 students who have qualified for work release and are going out on job placements. And lastly, the Career Center had 100% credential passage rates. 2 of 2 students passed the Registered Medical Assistant certification, 5 of 5 passed Registered Phlebotomy Technician certification, 1 of 1 passed Advanced Cosmetology licensure from the Ohio State Cosmetology and Barber Board, and 2 recent medical assistant technology graduates are continuing their education in nursing and started LPN training this week. And superintendent's update.
Okay, I've got a couple items to update you on. I'll start with, we have our first senior citizen luncheon of the school year, and that will take place tomorrow at the Ramble Inn. Secondly, as I shared with you at last month's meeting, I would share with you some of the history of board meetings over the 100 years as we celebrate 100 years of Madison. And this item comes from the June 13th, 1985 board meeting. I know somebody who was between their junior and senior years in high school at that time. That'd be me. And so this board item reflected when we went from 2 junior highs to 1. And so the item states, Mr. Cochran moved to change the names of the following schools: Madison North Junior High School to Madison Junior High School, and Madison South Junior High School to Madison South Elementary School. So that happened prior to the 85-86 school year. Want to just take a few minutes to address bullying. I know that has been an issue in social media and some concerns shared. And I don't want to get into it extensively, but what I do want to say is, we are constantly working on that issue. We know it's an issue, but we will be ramping up our work to educate both the students and the parents regarding bullying, as well as, bringing in some guest speakers and doing some things to try to prevent bullying. We know it's an issue, but we also know that there's a little bit of education that needs to take place so that everybody understands what bullying is and what bullying isn't. So we're not blind to the fact that it goes on. And I want to commend our building administrators for the work that they do on that. That is a very difficult one for them, but I know they take those reports seriously and they investigate them thoroughly and do the best they can with them. So we hear you, we're listening, and we are continuing to work on it. Next, I want to update you a little bit. We had a gentleman here who shared some information with us, a concern that he had regarding students walking to and from school on Gray Street and McElroy. Just want to let you know what we have done since then to try and alleviate those issues. As far as the McElroy, the concern was the bridge on McElroy that goes over top of 30, and students having to walk over that, and you know, sometimes students don't make the best decisions and the danger of falling over the bridge. And across the bridge on McElroy is a non-transportation zone, meaning it's too close to the middle and high school for us to transport. However, we made an exception because of that concern, and we've now put a bus stop in over there so that students have the opportunity to get on a bus if they so choose. Secondly, I went to the Ohio Department of Transportation's website, and they have a spot in there where you can share feedback and concerns, and I did so and requested from them that they do something, put fencing up or some sort of safety measure to alleviate that concern. I have not heard back from them specifically on that, but I look forward to hearing back from them, and I'm hopeful they'll put some safety measures in as well. And then Gray Street, we really aren't authorized to do anything on anybody's property or you know, the areas up close to the road. But I met with one of our Madison Township trustees. We had some really good conversation. I think when I shared those concerns with the trustee, he was fully in agreement with the concern and was going to go to work on trying to address the areas where it's difficult for students to walk to and from school on Gray Street. Most of it is pretty clear and pretty good shape, but there were some areas, and I think he had mentioned there's plants and growth up around a sign, and was definitely the case. So I know the trustees were going to work with their road department to really do some work there, and I think that covers that. So I just wanted to update you that we heard him and we went to work immediately to try and make things safer for our kids. And then lastly, just want to talk about our report card. I'm not going to dive into it too deeply, but you have a document in front of you. Essentially, what you see there, anything that you see in black print, we scored or were rated similarly to last year. Anything that you see in red print, we dropped. And anything that you see in green print, which I know it's hard to see the green print, but everything from early literacy down on that page is green. And that means that we improved or we were already at a 5-star rating, which is the highest that you can do. So as you look at that, our overall rating was 3.5 stars, which meets state standards. Achievement, 3 stars, which meets state standards. and basically achievement measures our student performance on state tests. Progress, we're 3 stars, which meets state standards, and that measures student growth versus what the state expects them to grow. Gap closing, we were at 4 stars last year. We dropped to 3 stars. We're still meeting the state standard, but certainly we're not satisfied with that and dropping a star. Early literacy, I really want to just stop here for a second. We went from 2 stars to 3 stars, and very pleased with that growth. Certainly, we're not satisfied at being at 3 stars, but making that jump from 2 stars to 3, we're very pleased about that, which that measures the improvement in student literacy in grades K to 3. And then you can also see kind of under that some additional measures. Our performance on the 3rd grade reading test, we improved by over 11%, which that is really positive. And we improved by 1%, a little over 1%, getting students moving from off track to on track by grade level. So we are very pleased, and I just really want to thank and demonstrate my gratitude towards our elementary teachers, the elementary administrators, our central office administrators who were involved in that, as well as obviously our students and their families. That's a team effort to demonstrate that kind of growth. As you know, we've changed curriculum, our reading curriculum over the last 2 years, and our instructional strategies, and we're very happy about the demonstration of that improvement. And then on graduation rate, we were at 5 stars last year, 5 stars again this year, and our graduation rates are holding very steady there. College, career, and workforce readiness, which we know how big of an issue that is as we try to prepare our students to go out into whatever it is their next step is. That indicator, we grew by 11% from last year, and we had grown 8% from the year before, so that's a 19% increase over the last 2 years. Again, that's a measure of how well students are prepared for future opportunities in a technical field, for work, or for college. And then lastly, the career technical report card, which our career technical program gets a separate report card from the district report card, but for the 2nd year in a row, they received a 5-star rating. So, there's a lot of things to be very proud of. There's certainly things that we still need to continue to work at, and we will continue to do that. So that concludes my report.
Congratulations to the staff on that.
Awesome. Okay, presentations. We have Mr. Conway and Mr. Ricker.
I hope everyone's comfortable. This is going to be a lengthy one. I'm just kidding. I'll try to go pretty quick. We're a team up here. I think that that goes true in everything we do. Mr. D, Mr. Rickert, and I, and always Mr. Grove. We operate as a team at the high school. You'll get to hear from Mr. Grove more in November. We'll try to kind of update you on some things that we're doing new this year, but a lot of it is kind of a review of last year, being as though we're still in the very early phases of this school year. So obviously starting off with the class of 2024, our most recent graduates, I underlined just some things that I think is very important. We had 39% graduate higher than a 3.5. I think that's a huge number. And again, that's 9 percentage points up from the previous year. 58% above a 3.0, and again, that's 8 percentage points up from the previous year. And 23 valedictorians, which 23 students had a 4.0. We were just talking over there. This is the last year where we will probably have that group of valedictorians. The quality point system kicks in with the class of 2026. So that'll be, you probably won't see numbers like that in the future. Another group that we definitely want to celebrate are the graduating seniors that enlisted in the armed forces. You can see William Jameson, Travis Jameson in the Marines, C.J. Steffi in the Air National Guard, Sarah Hoffer in the Navy, and Caitlin Hubbard into the Ohio Air National Guard last year. So I want to congratulate those recent RAM graduates on their service to the country. We last year had a Franklin B. Walter Scholarship Award winner, Justin Gibson, was awarded that at a banquet at the Mid-Ohio ESC. He beat out a lot of area scholars from other schools. It was a great night, and he honored Mr. Dillon as his positive impact person. So that was a really cool night for Ram Nation. Again, our Justin's a very eccentric kid, and he's a lot of fun, and he did a great job in representing Madison. Merry Madison Christmas is always such a huge part of what we do. I think it is the very best of Madison. It spotlights everything that is positive about this community. You see people in the high school, but really it's become a district. It's just coordinated at the high school. But you see 12 different families were helped last year, 39 children. You can kind of see all the different groups that either adopted families or helped out in various ways. Again, just kind of looking at more of the groups that pitched in, such as OCC leadership, individual classroom teachers, everything from, collecting household items to, you see Ms. Lucas always crochets baskets. Our family consumer science teacher, Ms. Casper, always makes cookies. Mr. Bolyantz's class always takes time to sort everything and make sure everything is in order to go to the specific families. And if you were to click, I know all of the board members have this ability, but there was a really nice article in the Richland Source last year that featured 3 Madison graduates who were all teachers at the high school, Maggie Thomas, Shelby Ohl, and Carly Utt. They have now taken that over as community members and RAM graduates, so it's a really cool story. Mr. Peterson just spent a little bit of time talking about the end of course results, just to kind of show you how the high school did. And again, I know I reported out in student achievement last month on this issue. But there are some things I do want to highlight. Our ELA, you can kind of see we are well above the state average. The state average was a 57. We were at a 75. So that's something that we could certainly be super proud of. And you can see also that's a 12-point improvement from the previous year, which is gigantic. That also did help our performance index, which improved this past year. Some other things that definitely want to highlight, the Algebra 1, I mean, no one's happy with a 52 average as a district, but again, it's still above the state average, so that is obviously a very challenging test. But you can see the improvement in our building from 2023 to 2024, going from 39 to 48. So I mean, that's a significant improvement as well. In social studies, we are scoring very well above the state average, so we're very proud of that. The 2 areas that we're going to continue to work on is our biology, which made some improvement, but again, not quite where we want to get to in biology. But geometry is the area that we got to really go back and look at what are we doing and what do we need to refocus. That's just something, again, you can see as a state that is, it's challenging is when only 41% of your state's getting a proficient on that test. And I think one of the reasons that is because that's the test that has no ties to the graduation pathways. So it's almost hard to incentivize with the kids because the biology test will go to the science seal, the American history and the government tests go to the citizenship seal. ELA and Algebra 1 are very important tests. That geometry one is kind of that one hanging out there that we got to figure out a way to motivate our kids to perform at their top level. This just kind of shows you from year to year how we are progressing and where we're going up and down. So that goes all the way back to the 2018 school year. So just something to look at there. And here's our overall kind of report card. Again, this wasn't totally finalized. The area that we are really focusing on, and I appreciate Allison Kahn, Kurt McVicker coming over, working with us. We're going to really focus on gap closing moving forward, especially targeting our gifted students and our attendance rates. Those are things that we really want to focus on as we move forward so we can move from a 3.5 and improve up to 4 and 5 stars. That's our goal. The one thing we are very excited with is that we did improve our performance index. We moved up to 82. We were at, I believe it was a 79.3. Our goal was to improve 3 points in our performance index. We improved 2.7. So not quite where we want to get to. We're close, but not quite there yet. We'd like to see similar improvement, though, this coming year. Want to real quick tag in Mr. D. He's going to talk a little bit about MSI and some of the things they did.
Okay, MSI is one of our student leadership teams. We have several in our building. Madison Student Initiative, that's what MSI stands for. How I describe that is about half the work that team does is service work, helping out in the community, around the district, that kind of thing. And then about half the work is investing in the students, teaching them leadership skills. Throughout the year, we go to 2 big regional leadership conferences that are hosted at the Mid-Ohio Education Service Center with other schools throughout our county. That's a highlight from the year. Another thing that we do is we facilitate our Black History Month celebrations. That includes reading morning announcements, celebrating influential historical figures, curating presentations that we share during our advisory period, that kind of thing. And we will continue doing that once we get into that season this year. Handing it back to Mr. Conway.
I just think we're very proud of the achievements of our band and our choir. Mr. Green, I have to say, is probably the most recognized choir director in this area for sure, but I don't know anyone who has the expertise and the accomplishments Mr. Green has had. We had another extremely successful year in choir, and band is also doing a fantastic job. So I just included some things for you to look over for band and choir about some of the things that they did and some of the ratings that they had. We are very, very proud of them, and we hope that they continue to climb and continue to represent the arts at Madison the way they are. Our honors breakfast, I always like to try to give you some numbers. Again, we spend a little bit, we spend some time every quarter kind of reflecting on the hard work of some of our students and what they're doing to get all A's and B's, or to continue getting those type of grades while participating in sports. So we're always very proud of them. Mrs. Dillon has taken that over. It ends with a really nice student-teacher recognition program at the end of the year. I'm really excited for this year. She's got some really good ideas, and I think it's going to continue to be something that our students are really excited for. Our alternative program, just to share some numbers with you. Again, these are all pretty standard, but I do want to kind of go to that last bullet down there, not really a bullet, but the last point. We graduated 17 kids last year from the alternative program, but 8 of them were early graduates. Those are kids who were struggling in brick and mortar school for whatever reason. Their regular building wasn't working for them, but something clicked and they got into the alternative program and they really were motivated. And I think Mr. Schultz has done a nice job kind of guiding them and getting them through and meeting all the graduation pathways they need to meet. So very happy about that. I want to invite Mr. Ricker to come up, kind of talk about sports, and then kind of where we're progressing this year.
All right, thanks. Last year, when we just talked about some of the things that happened last year, First of all, our girls soccer team had a great year last year. They were district champions, again in regional finalists, and of course OCC champions. So we had a couple girls. Also, they got some major honors out of that. Nevaeh Lewis was a regional. There you see her as a second team All-Ohio, but she also made like an all-region team. And spoke to her grandmother actually today, and she's at Tiffin University, not playing soccer as of right now, even though they're trying to get her to play soccer, but she is running track and doing really well, so we're excited about that. A couple of wrestlers again. Michael Thomas made his second trip to the state tournament. Michael also won the Tom Ellis, the Sally George Classic. He was a sectional champ and an OCC champion, so had a heck of a year for us. And Estella Copert-Smith made her first trip to the state tournament. Estella wrestled the most matches by any female wrestler in the state of Ohio. So that was quite an honor and shows the work that Mr. Mosier did also in getting those matches. We're actually going to host a girls' match this year. We hosted Tom Ellis. We're also going to host a girls' tournament at our school this year, which is kind of a big thing. We've got a lot of teams interested in coming to that. The state track, Nevaeh, of course, we talked about her. She qualified for the Ohio State track meet in the 100 and 200, and Callie Cyrus also qualified for the 400 meter. Callie's also attending Mount Union. She is playing soccer and running track there, so quite a feat to be able to do two sports at once there. We also had our second Hall of Fame dinner. I thought it was fantastic. If any of you have ever been there, then last year's it's really something to see. We had some people that, of course, I myself got inducted, but I did. You don't even feel like you should when you see some of those other people that are up there. And unfortunately, we lost a member right after that happened in Ray Peterson, which was very close to me. He was a coach of mine, and tragically he passed away. But it was a great honor, and to see him up there speaking was really a cool thing. So very nice to have our second class in our Hall of Fame. Just going a little bit about this year, we were talking. Some of the thunder was stolen a little bit ago, but just to go over some things right now and kind of where we're at. I don't think Elise talked about our golf team. Our golf team has been fantastic this year. They've won 3 golf tournaments, including our own for the second year. They right now are second in the OCC. We play 3 matches. We had one at Riceland Golf Course. We had one at Twin Lakes, and tomorrow they'll be in Shelby. If they win that thing tomorrow, they'll be OCC champs for the first time since the 90s. So that is a really big honor, and they're really doing well right now. We're looking forward to them in the tournament also. We talked about our football team. I think that was the first time since 2012 we had beaten Worcester. So they're getting much better. It was nice to see. Our boys soccer team, a couple things I want to say about them. First of all, they're 9-1, undefeated in the OCC. Lost a tough one Saturday to a really good St. Francis team that is state ranked. Very good match. They played last night in something that I thought was a big deal. I just want to throw out. They played West Holmes, and West Holmes is really struggling this year. And West Holmes has been beaten up pretty bad by a couple schools really close to us in our league, and by the scores of like 14-0, and that's not good for anybody. I went to the OCC leadership today, and the AD, Adam Braitley from West Holmes, came to me, and he said, hey, my coach couldn't say enough about how much respect he had for you guys, that we won 7-0, and we didn't try to run it up, didn't try to get crazy, and that meant a lot to me. I talked to Tim before that. Adam is close to me. It's never good in the OCC to do that anyway. We've been on the other side of some of those in some sports, and I thought that was something to commend our kids and our coaches for that last night. I mean, everybody wants to score a bunch of goals in a game like that, but what they did, I thought, meant a lot, and meant a lot to another school, and so that was kind of a big deal. Our OCC leadership was today. That's a great event. It was put on over there at Ashland. Chris Hahn came and spoke to the kids, and the kids get into their groups, and they talk about things that they want to do with the OCC leadership. They bounce ideas off of other schools, and we've gotten some really cool things out of that. I think it's a great event that we have. what we decided to do was also follow it up later with another event. We always had one, and there was no follow-up. So we're going to have another one in Worcester in the spring to say, kind of what did you guys do and how did it go? And there's some things that they're working on. We're going to have a military appreciation night, the Dover game. I know some of the kids are working to do some things for that and raising some money. So, right now I think, the school year's off to a really good start. We're happy where we're at, and hopefully just continue to get better. Thank you.
Okay, jumping back in. Introducing our new staff members. We were very intentional over the summer to hire some great people. David Gilbert is our long-term sub, taking over the financial literacy position. Eric Dillon, automotive technologies. Ellen Shimko is our intervention specialist. I think her primary role is ELA. Emily Cannonkamp, the long-term sub, she's bouncing between the middle school and the high school, specializing in social studies. Judy Connor has moved from the middle school to the high school, our health teacher. And Brian Hicks is back teaching manufacturing technologies. Each one of these people, and then Kelly Grosskopf, building secretary that has moved from one of the elementary buildings to the high school. With our new staff, one just general statement is each one of them either has a strong connection to the Madison district or was recruited by someone that's already connected to the Madison district that was saying, hey, you got to come work at Madison, you're going to love it here. So I'm confident that all of those people are going to be here for a long time, and they're in it to win it. I'm going to summarize these last couple of slides just for the sake of time. So here's some of the things that we're working on at the high school that pertains to just overall goals, but also hits the PBIS realm. So PBIS, positive behavior intervention and supports, that's a lot of the classroom management, school culture kind of stuff. We as an admin team, along with our building leadership team, our grade committee team, really felt like in a lot of ways we wanted to go back to the basics and really make sure that everybody was on the same page with some of our fundamental expectations, such as electronics devices. Is everybody following the same expectations with how we're handling cell phones? Minor discipline issues in the classroom, such things as, the horseplay in the classroom, that kind of thing. Dress code issues. So we're going back to the basics. In order to do that, we started the year, and this was kind of fun. I'll probably have to share these videos with the board, but the admin team actually became amateur filmmakers, and we did like some instructional videos to do like some how-tos, if you will, for teaching and modeling the expectations for students, which was pretty cool. We are off to a great start, and I would say that overall we are much more consistent as a building than we were last year. Jumping ahead to some data, so let's look at some data. Comparing the 21-22 school year to the 22-23 school year to the 23-24 school year, we're heading in the right direction. The grayish line, that's the most recent year, and as you can see, that's the lowest point on the graph. And then, looking throughout the year, generally trends are going down, which is what you want to see. That's trends for our office discipline referrals. That basically means how many students are getting referred for misbehavior. And that's covering everything from vaping, fighting, classroom misbehavior, truancy. That's a total. It's not broken down to the specifics. One thing that would be interesting to point out is typically we have an uptick at the beginning of the year, and a lot of that has to do with onboarding students and holding them accountable, and then once they get with the program, we tend to see things taper off as we move through the year. Good? questions?
Did our best, I promise.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion for item H, approval of donations. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd just like to thank TE Connectivity for their donation and generosity in helping us address the student lunch charge issues. Very nice.
Yes, we appreciate it. Go ahead, roll call.
Miss Amy Walker.
4.
Mr. Wigton.
4.
Mrs. Cotterman.
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
4. And I need a motion for item I, treasurer's business.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Discussion?
All right, I'll go over the report real quick. Basically, you know, there's a revenue increase in August, but August is always going to be up because that's when you get your real estate settlement. 87% of that increase, though, came because we passed a new levy. Obviously, you pass a new levy, get more property taxes, it's going to be up. The general fund, the general revenue, general revenue, that increase is a result of timing. We got Medicaid reimbursements. Last year, we got the large Medicaid reimbursement in September. This year, we happen to get it in August, so I really anticipate September's, month over month is going to be lower. You're laughing because I said it's a matter of timing, but it's just typical. In the unrestricted grant and aid, that's our state foundation. This is the last year of that biennium budget. The state is just finally going to hopefully get us to where we're supposed to be. Who knows what's going to happen next year? But revenues, they're decent. They're not the greatest. I'd like to see more, but this is, at least it's on a positive. Expenditures, we'll go through those a little bit. Salaries, obviously they're up because, there's steps, degree changes, and base rate increases, so those are going to go up. Benefits are a function of salaries, so salaries go up, so do benefits. You'll notice, though, that the benefits increased a lot more than the salaries, and that's because of health insurance. I was talking before the board meeting to somebody, and we're self-funded. So the first $150,000 of every expenditure that comes out of, going to the doctor comes out of our pocket. Well, when you go to the doctor 5 years ago, the same procedure was a lot less than it is now. And at that threshold, we have a lot more things meeting that, getting close to that. So it's just going to obviously cost more. So our health insurance is up. Next thing I want to point out that is, I brought it up a little bit, but I'm going to forewarn you for the upcoming year. The last 3 years, we were able to use COVID funds, ESSER dollars, to supplant expenditures. Not all expenditures, but unlike other federal funds, we were able to supplant things. This year, COVID funds are done. They ended in June of 2023. If you didn't have the money promised, spent, you might not have gotten an invoice for it yet, but it had to have been ordered, spent, and done. It couldn't have gone on the final expenditure report, and it wouldn't count. So for the last 3 years, we had expenditures that were offset by those. I don't know if you remember when Mrs. Walker was talking about iReady and the diagnostic assessments. That is a perfect example of something that we have offset for the last 3 years with COVID money. Well, it's a six-figure expenditure. And we can't just do away with that. We can't choose not to do it. So that expenditure has to come back in general funds. So you're going to see purchase services and supplies go up year over year most of the time this year because there are monies that were supplanted to a federal, one-time COVID that we can't supplant anymore. Now, when there are things that we can feasibly do away with, we won't, institute them again. We'll let them go. But there are certain things we can't. We have to just pay for out of general funds. So you're going to see those go up. The next 2 pages are pretty much the same. I left this. I'm going to leave this last page on here until after November when I do the 5-year forecast for for this upcoming year. And the other reason, that's one of the reasons, because the 5-year forecast isn't done. The other reason is I really think this is an extremely important thing for the board to see and for the public to see, because, you know, regardless of how much financial trouble we're in, this shows that we are spending the money in the right places. We're not wasting it. It's on instructional things. I mean, that's the purpose of a school district, is to educate kids, and that's really what we do. And this comes from the state, their data. So it's, you know, it's not something that I'm generating or manipulating or analyzing. I'm just taking it straight from what the state says. The next thing, the two things, I'll just say the permanent appropriations and budgets. It's just every year I have to compile budgets. All the administrators out there, thank you. They put together, you know, expenditures, what they expect to spend in a budget, and then revenues, what we intend on receiving. I just have to compile it in a spreadsheet and do a couple certificates, send them to the county auditor every year, because they have to certify that we're not budgeting to spend more than we have. So that's all that is. Are there any questions on financial reports or any of the budgets or appropriations?
Roll call.
Mr. Wigton?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4. I need a motion for item J, matters related to personnel. So moved. A
Who
second?
said, who, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry.
A second?
I'll second.
Discussion? No? Okay, roll call, please.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Mr. Wigton?
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4. I need a motion for item K, superintendent's business.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Just briefly,
was Amy, I think.
item number 1. You okay?
Yeah, I was trying to find out, was it Amy? Okay,
It was Amy, yeah.
Good.
thanks.
Item number 1, approving the proposed wage structure and benefit changes. Essentially, what that is we will no longer be paying the 4% retirement for those individuals. And instead of doing so, the new salary schedule will reflect a 4% increase across the board. So that's what item 1 is. And then item 2, we're going to go out for bid on a school bus. But I just want to let you know, we are not compelled to purchase a bus. It just gives us the opportunity to purchase one if the funds are available to do so when we get to that point and those become available. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Roll call?
Mr. Wigton?
4.
Miss Amy Walker?
4.
Mrs. Cotterman?
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker?
4. At this time, we'll address any visitors that would like to comment. Okay, you can step up to the microphone, please.
Have her state her name.
And if you would please state your name and the street that you live on, please.
My name and what else?
The street.
Address.
Yeah,
Okay.
address.
My name's Catherine Waitman. We've got 6 children at Madison. We live at 421 Vernon Road. Definition of bullying, you had mentioned. It's the repetitive, intentional hurting of one person or group by another person or group where the relationship involves an imbalance of power. Bullying can be physical, verbal, or psychological. Our children deal with this in life at times as expected from children who are not raised to be kind starting in the home. What is not expected or tolerable is this type of behavior from your faculty towards our children. Today, our youngest child of 6 children in the school district endured this psychological and verbal bullying from one of your staff members. Your staff member that is hired as a special education aide, Miss Owens. During breakfast, she not only singled him out, made him alienated from his sister, made him cry, seen his tears, but also made a point to take the one child away from the table that was with him and allowed her to be at the table he was just sent away from, making an exception and accommodation for that child. Even though this sounds bad enough, she then continued and talked about my son to the table of girls while he's still crying And unbeknownst to Mrs. Owens, Josh's sister, my daughter, was sitting at that table she addressed. So tonight, I'm here to advocate not just for my son, who is in the inclusion class, but I'm advocating for the students that this lady is hired to take care of. My heart dropped. I have cried all day when I discovered that she is a special education aide here. Mr. Peterson and Mr. Nilsson have been very informed. They have contacted me. An investigation has begun. But my attendance at the meeting tonight and my statement is for you at the board to ensure that the details, obvious and hidden, large and small, are paid mind to in this investigation, and that discipline appropriately so that our children are no longer exposed to this unnatural behavior from their so-called role models at Madison. I'm here insisting, as a parent, the removal of the employment of Rachel Owens in the Madison Middle School. The unacceptable, unkind things that were displayed of her true colors and true demeanor that was all caught on a videotape today in this very room we stand in, before my son's day even started, avoid any other child in Madison having to start or end or endure their day to start with a tear-stained binder like my sons did today. Mr. Peterson, in the past, you put together a remainder of the 2015 Amanda story. I think that was great, and that could bring back some awareness. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, and now I need a motion for item M, President's Business.
So moved.
In a second.
I'll second.
Okay, so I did that backwards, right? Did I do that? Okay. So our next regular board meeting will be at 6 p.m. on October 16th. We do need to have the work session to discuss the OSBA Delegate Assembly. We received the packet. So I think we had all discussed October 8th. Does that work for everybody?
That was the 7th.
I'm pulling up my calendar now.
I think
Yes,
October
it was the
7th.
7th.
Yeah, it was the 7th.
October 7th.
Yes, does that work for everybody? At 4:30?
As of now.
Okay. And that will be at the board office. So
Brad did not get who made the motion and seconded.
Amy made it and Mary seconded.
Okay, got it, thanks.
Okay. And I guess, like I said, I think I did that backwards. That should have been to go into executive session, right?
It should have
Yeah.
been, but that's okay.
Okay. So we'll let that motion be for going into executive session. And in executive session, we're going to be discussing preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. When we return, we will not be voting on any additional business. Thank you.
What time are we doing that special
We
meeting?
need-
We need to vote.
I need to vote to go in, so.
Wait.
Miss Amy Walker,
Yes.
Mrs. Cotterman,
4.
Mr. Wigton,
4.
Mrs. Melissa Walker.
Thank you.
What time
Yes,
are we doing the special meeting?
4:30.